Can everyone hear me? Okay. So without much further ado, let's begin our event today. As such, I would like to go with my introduction first as why we started to do this event. Sorry, was someone talking? Our subject called Global Social Responsibility as gave us an assignment for us to make an event depicting the problems of other people have. As such, we have decided with the theme of reduce inequality, as we think that there's been a lot of inequality in this world. And as such, also, we move forward going with the topic of equality in citizenship. Our objective is to spread awareness about the recent matter of a mother entitled to gain citizenship for her children due to her gender, and hopefully to gain more supporters to participate in signing up for a petition which is currently going. And also, can anyone from my side post the links for the petition inside the chat, just in case that some of us might have not signed the petition? Thank you. Moving forward, let's talk about how citizenship works in Malaysia. So, the laws on citizenship in Malaysia are basically enshrined in our federal constitution, that is the supreme law of our land. As such, for birth, entitlement, or descent, all persons born in Malaysia between 31 August 1957 and 1 October 1962 automatically receive citizenship by birth regardless of their nationalities of their parents. Individuals born in the country since that date receive Malaysian citizenship at birth if at least one of their parents is a citizen and both parents are legally married to each other at the time of the birth. But children born in wedlock overseas are eligible to become Malaysian citizens by descent if either parent is a citizen. The birth of eligible persons must be registered at the Malaysian diplomatic mission within 1 year after birth citizenship to be granted. Also, individuals born between 1 June 2010 to married parents could only obtain citizenship by descent if the father was a Malaysian citizen. Persons born to unmarried parents by default inherit their mother's citizenship. A child of a father, a Malaysian father, and non-citizen mother who are not married or whose marriage is not recognized in the Malaysian law cannot acquire citizenship by descent. However, they may apply for citizenship by registration subject to the government's discretionary approval. So, the Malaysian nationality law also details the condition by which a person is a national of Malaysia. And the primary law governing nationality requirement is the Constitution of Malaysia, which came forth into 27 August 1957. As such, there are several articles of the federal constitution that states of how you are able to get citizenship. Article 14(1)(b), most Malaysians acquire citizenship by operation of law under this provision. The article says that if he or she was born on Malaysian Day on 16 September 1963 and at least one of the parents are a citizen, and in the event if he or she was born on or after the Malaysian Day, then at the time of birth his or her father was a Malaysian citizen, the birth is registered at the consulate of Malaysia within a year or within such longer period as the federal government may in any particular case allow. There's also another article 15(1) of the federal constitution that states that any married woman whose husband is a Malaysian citizen also make an application to register as a citizen if the marriage was subsisting and the husband is a citizen at the beginning of October 1962. Article 52 also states that the federal government may cause any person that are under the age of 21 and whose parents either a Malaysian to be registered as a citizen upon application made to the federal government by his parent or guardian. Also, there was adjustment made to the Article 15A and was called as special circumstances, which states that the federal government may cause any person under the age of 21 years to be registered as a citizen in such special circumstances as it thinks fit, and the application must be made by the parents or guardian who is relative to the person to be registered. So, what constitute the special circumstances under the Article 15A? This was not defined, and in this respect, perhaps the recent incidents have shed some lights on the idea of special circumstances, as in Article 15A of the Federal Constitution. Like an incident of an illegitimate child who was born out of wedlock of the parents in Malaysia, or the parents were not married to each other at the time of the birth. Under Malaysian law, an illegitimate child must take on citizenship of his or her natural mother. But if the mother is a Malaysian, the child will be a Malaysian by virtue of Article 14.1. But if the mother is a foreign citizen, the child's citizenship will be stated as bukan negara or non-citizen in his or his birth certificate, thus also known as stateless child. In this instance, the child may apply for citizenship under Article 15A of Federal Constitution under special circumstances. As such, it is very hard to obtain citizenship, as you have to go through a lot of laws and court cases for mothers to gain citizenship for their children. As such, today, we have invited Family Frontiers to our event to give a talk and share the experience of how things are going and how things are going to move forward. And today, we are blessed by 3 people who are on this event and going to give a talk. First, we have Alicia Dyson. She is the social media and communication interns for Family Frontiers and currently is working on the Malaysian campaign for equal citizenship to fight for Malaysian women's equal rights and to confer citizenship on their overseas-born children, where she curates and creates social media content to spread the awareness of the issue. Next, we also have Corina Robert Mangharam. She is the Advocacy and Community Engagement Coordinator at Family Frontiers. She currently works on the Malaysian campaign for equal citizenship for Malaysian women's equal rights to confer citizenship on their overseas-born children, same as Miss Alicia Dyson. As such, let me tell you a short brief of how Family Frontiers came about. So, founded with the intention of expanding, promoting, and strengthening the family unit so that no family is left behind, the Association of Family Support and Welfare Selangor and KL, Family Frontiers has been recognized as an entity. It serves as an umbrella organization under the Foreign Spouse Support Group, FSSG, which is a group that promotes the welfare of Malaysian binational families and mobilizes support for the Malaysian campaign for equal citizenship. The FSSG was founded back in 2009 by 2 non-citizen mothers who were married to Malaysians and faced impossibly severe challenges in ensuring their Malaysian citizenships. They established the FSG to aid other Malaysian spouses that are facing comparable difficulties with the goal of advancing, promoting, and safeguarding the welfare of non-citizen spouses married to Malaysians and their children by influencing policy and delivering services through network and community building. Then later on 2015, FSSG has broadened the scope of its campaigning to include Malaysians who struggle with the inability to pass on their citizenship to their children, in addition to foreign spouses. Family Frontiers is currently in charge of the Malaysia campaign for equal citizenship, which aims to alter laws and policies so that Malaysia can grant citizenship to their spouses and children equally through gender-equal laws, policies, and practices. People who were influenced by the aforementioned problems either directly or indirectly banded together in July 2020 to create Family Frontiers. It was an association that was officially registered with the Malaysian Register of Society and is known as Family Support and Welfare, or Family Frontiers. The goal of Family Frontiers is to make gender equality and non-discrimination a reality so that Malaysian binational families can fully enjoy their rights within their households, communities, and society. As such, Family Frontiers have gone to a lot of events, court cases, and as such as in the recent news, the federal court has fixed, if I'm not mistaken, right, the federal court has fixed December 14 for them to hear an application by Family Support and Welfare, Family Frontiers, and 6 Malaysian mothers for leave to pursue their appeal against the Court of Appeal ruling denying automatic citizenship to children born overseas to Malaysian mothers with foreign spouses. As there has been like a lot of applications submitted by single mothers wanting for their children to gain citizenship, but by the statistics made from Family Frontiers, they have gained from out of 2,352 applications. Out of 2,352 applications between 2018 and October 2021, only 21 of them were approved. As such, today we have one of the people who were growing up with this problem, and it's in here with us this event, and she will later be talking about her experience living as a non-citizen, even though she has already been living in Malaysia for a long time. Such, I think we will be showing a short film sharing her stories with her mother of how she grows up and what problems she faces. Irfan, you can play the short film.
Tidak sama rataan. Nak duduk dekat sini. This is my home. Tapi Dila akan kena tendang keluar kalau Dila tak ada status yang valid kat sini. Hai, Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Aniza. Saya adalah salah seorang ibu warga negara Malaysia yang terkesan dengan undang-undang ketidaksamarataan di negara ini. Saya mempunyai 3 orang anak. Ini yang sulung, yang mana dua adalah bukan warga negara dan yang bongsu merupakan warga negara Malaysia.
Hai, nama saya Nadila and saya anak sulung kepada Aniza. Umur saya 20 tahun ni and saya bukan warga negara macam mak saya sebab saya dilahirkan di luar negara. Sekarang saya tengah study dekat universiti swasta dekat Malaysia sebagai international student and tengah ambil bachelor's in computer forensic. How was life dekat US masa tu after having us? Like, did you have masa tu ada hardships ke atau?
It's okay lah, tapi sebab nak kena tak ada support apa semua, so nak kena cari orang nak kena jaga, nak kena nak itu, nak kena nak ini, so susah jugalah. Ada 2 orang pula lagi, so masing-masing punya perangai kan lain-lain. So macam tu lah lebih kurang, tapi okay lah so far, jaga korang semua tak ada masalah. Cuma itulah nak kena alih jaga korang, nak ada shift. Jadi bila nak tukar shift tu pun kena bawa korang berdua dalam kereta, make sure, tambah lagi bila musim sejuk, nak kena make sure everybody all warm, dress up, everything. Dah sampai masa untuk balik sebab semua keluarga dekat Malaysia. Kat sana pun tak ada siapa, cuma ada kita berempat masa tu. So fikir kalau ada apa-apa hal yang terjadi, salah seorang, susah lah siapa yang akan ambil alih. So sebab time tu juga macam kita sebagai seorang Islam dekat sana, ajaran Islam dia pun lain, bukan kurang, dia lain mazhab. Kita mazhab lain, dia mazhab lain. So cara dia ini pun lain. So sebab tu ambil keputusan untuk bawa korang balik. Jadi sini juga ada keluarga boleh tolong kalau ada apa-apa. Kalau ibu sakit ke atau korang sakit ke, at least ada orang boleh jaga. Boleh bawa korang pergi mengaji, ada orang boleh ajar dengan ikut cara Islam, cara mazhab yang kita, cara Rasulullah lah.
Ibu ada try apply untuk citizenship untuk kita orang kan. So berapa kali ibu apply and how was the process?
So ibu apply dah 4 kali, 2009, 2011, 2013 dan terakhir 2017. So dapat rejection 3 kali. So
tak ada bagi sebab?
Tak ada sebab, cuma kata rejection saja. So sebab tu setiap kali bila dapat reject, apply balik, tak tahu sama ada silap dekat mana dekat application tu yang diorang reject. Sebab setiap kali apply, setiap kali apply reject. Cuma yang last ni 2017 punya last application, sampai sekarang masih belum ada jawapan. Bila tanya, pernah bagi surat dekat Kementerian Dalam Negeri pun apa semua, tahun 2017 diorang balas balik tahun 2020, kata masih dalam proses.
Lama je. Ibu kan tengah raising 3 children sekarang ni. 2 bukan warga negara, 1 tu warga negara kan. So untuk ibu rasa ada perbezaan tak antara raising a non-citizen dengan a citizen?
Mestilah ada beza. Sebab kalau jadi citizen, nak dapatkan healthcare ke, buku bantuan untuk sekolah ke apa ke, semua senang. Macam masa mula-mula apply yang ada BRIM tu, Bantuan Rakyat Satu Malaysia, masa tu kalau ibu warga negara Malaysia, kalau anak sekolah dekat kerajaan, para ibu akan boleh dapat. So I applied for that, I got it. Masa tu mula-mula boleh dapat untuk 3 orang anak. Tapi lepas tu bila the next year and so on, bila tengok balik dapat just for the youngest. Lepas tu macam kalau Imah yang bongsu tu, macam dia dapat cek mata dekat sekolah, dekat private, dekat hospital kerajaan, boleh dapat free. Kalau macam korang nak kena pergi, mungkin kena bayar lebih lah. Sebab non-citizen biasanya kena bayar lebih, sebab they consider as foreigner. So perbezaan daripada healthcare macam tu lah, susah lah sikit. Jadi setiap kali kalau korang sakit, risaulah kalau nak kena bawa pergi mana, kena admit ke apa ke, so dia punya perwajan lebih lagi. Now it's my turn. Nak tanya, apa perasaan Dila tinggal di Malaysia sebagai seorang bukan warga negara?
Apa yang Dila rasa is duduk kat sini sebagai non-citizen is very frustrating sebenarnya. Because first of all, macam ibu cakap tadi, bila pergi sekolah, skim pinjaman buku teks tak dapat. So kita orang kena beli. Dah lah ibu tak dapat bantuan pula tu. Lepas tu ibu kena guna duit ibu sendiri untuk beli kita orang punya buku yang total dia dah beratus-ratus. Lepas tu dah kena beli buku, masuk sekolah lambat macam ibu cakap tadi. Lepas tu bila nak masuk competition dalam sekolah tak boleh. Ada once Dila hampir terpilih untuk masuk dalam pertandingan sahibah. Dila dengan kawan-kawan dah praktis dah dengan cikgu time tu. Praktis, buka kamus, main sahibah semua tu kan. Lepas tu tiba-tiba dah nak dekat dengan pertandingan tu, baru cikgu datang dekat Dila cakap, sorry Nadila, tapi Nadila tak boleh lah masuk pertandingan ni mewakili sekolah sebab Nadila tak ada Malaysia IC. And then masa Dila UPSR dulu, time sekolah rendah kan, Dila dapat result cemerlang kan, 5A. Tapi tak boleh nak masuk sekolah berasrama penuh sebab Dila bukan warga negara. Walaupun Dila dah duduk sini lama dah time tu.
Kawan-kawan dekat sekolah pun nak tak fikir Dila bukan warga negara kan, sebab dah sekolah kerajaan. So macam, yelah macam budak-budak lain lah. Betul tak?
Sama je dengan diorang. I can speak Malay. Muka Melayu dah.
Okay, lepas SPM Dila agak nak buat apa?
Bagi Dila, tengok kawan-kawan semua masuk senang kan. Diorang dapat apply UPU, semua benda tu. But for me, susah sangat. Sebab first of all, Dila tak boleh apply dalam UPU because UPU kena ada IC. Tak ada IC tak boleh nak apply. And scholarship tu pun satu. Sebab macam rugi. Masa SPM, Dila cemerlang. Dila dapat 9A. Bila nak apply scholarship, tak boleh because syarat dia kena warga negara Malaysia. Yang syarat lain semua dah penuh. Dah dipenuhi. Tapi satu tu je. And then kena masuk university as an international student. And then the fees memang almost double compared to local punya student. So macam
Keras lah
frustrating. I mean memang bukan Dila yang keluarkan duit tu, but I can see your struggles in trying to pay my fees. You see? Lepas tu Dila nak kerja part time, nak tolong you tampung financially pun tak boleh because I live here dengan visa pelajar. And dalam visa pelajar tu dia dah nyatakan dekat situ tak boleh bekerja kan. Kalau bekerja mungkin boleh kena denda, boleh kena tangkap. Yang Dila tak tahu. So memang susah lah dekat situ because I can't help you. I feel so helpless.
Apakah yang akan Dila lakukan apabila Dila dapat tahu yang Dila dah jadi rakyat Malaysia?
First thing Dila nak buat, cari kerja part time. Sebab there are many things yang Dila nak beli dengan duit sendiri. The satisfaction of buying things with your own money, the satisfaction is real, you know. So macam kalau Dila dah dapat warga negara, Dila dapat kerja part time, Dila dah dapat the money, I can help you financially and I can lessen your burden because I can support myself sikit and I can buy things on my own.
Tahun depan 21. So Dila agak macam mana nanti?
Options tu akan jadi limited once Dila dah jadi a full grown adult nanti. Because kalau Dila nak bekerja, Dila kena ada visa kerja. Kalau Dila tak ada kerja time tu, Dila stay tengah cari ke apa-apa ke, Dila tak boleh stay sini tanpa apa-apa macam status kan. Macam tu Dila kena ada visa pelawat or something. So macam Dila rasa akan jadi lagi susah macam tu sebab Dila tak ada status yang macam a valid status lah dekat sini. Dila punya nationality Indonesian. So kalau Dila kena tendang keluar, maybe Dila akan pergi Indonesia lah kot kan sebab my citizenship dekat sana. Tapi siapa yang Dila tahu kat situ? Dila tak tahu siapa. Dila sebenarnya willing je untuk contribute to the country. Dila boleh sumbangkan tenaga kerja, Dila boleh sumbangkan my macam energy and everything with my benda yang Dila belajar time sekolah, time university. Tapi itulah, Dila dah belajar sini bertahun-tahun tapi bila nak cari kerja, diorang tak nak Dila. Apa ibu punya hasrat untuk kita sekeluarga?
Mana ada ibu yang ingin berpisah dengan anak dia. So harap semua dapat bersatu bersama-sama, membesar bersama-sama. Dan korang bebas untuk buat pilihan korang sendiri tanpa rasa risau apa nak jadi kalau korang bukan warga negara ke atau korang apa macam tak ada perasaan risau lah. Jadi tak nak korang alami apa yang ibu alami, membesarkan korang sebagai seorang bukan warga negara. Okey lah, nak tanya sebab banyak salah tanggapan tentang perjuangan kita para ibu untuk mendapatkan kewarganegaraan untuk anak-anak yang dilahirkan di luar negara. So apa yang Dila ingin katakan kepada semua orang kat luar sana untuk membantu perjuangan ni?
Okay, so first of all, saya Nadila, sebenarnya just as Malaysian as everybody else. Saya pun sama Malaysian macam para Malaysian yang lain yang dah ada citizenship. Because macam Nadila cerita tadi, even time Nadila dekat sekolah pun, dorang takkan anggap yang Dila ni foreigner kalau Nadila tak bring up benda tu sendiri. Dorang rasa macam Dila ni macam dorang juga. So, saya tak sepatutnya suffer this kind of thing just because saya lahir di luar negara. Saya membesar dengan ibu dekat sini since 2009 sampai tahun ni 2022. Dah berapa tahun dah tu. Tapi still tak dapat nak dapatkan Malaysian citizenship sebab dilahirkan di luar negara.
Kita kena sama-sama berjuang sebab kemungkinan yang benda ni takkan jadi pada kita saja. Kemungkinan besar pada masa akan datang boleh jadi juga kepada anda ataupun pada saudara-saudara anda, para wanita yang lain lah nanti pada masa akan datang, kita tak tahu. Jadi kita harus sama-sama berjuang untuk mendapatkan hak kewarganegaraan bagi anak-anak yang lahir di luar negara supaya mereka dapat menjadi rakyat Malaysia. Dalam ajaran Islam juga ada mengatakan bahawa Islam tidak membezakan antara lelaki dengan wanita, tak kiralah dia punya darjat keturunannya, semuanya sama saja. Yang membezakan lelaki dengan wanita adalah nilai ketakwaan mereka di sisi Allah. Dan juga Rasulullah SAW juga pernah memberitahu kepada salah seorang orang yang bertanya kepada dia, siapakah yang saya harus dahulukan? Rasulullah berkata, ibu, dan yang paling terakhir adalah ayah. Jadi kenapa kami para ibu ditindas, padahal di dalam Islam juga Rasulullah sendiri memuliakan, menghargai para wanita, para ibu dahulu daripada para ayah.
I hope you guys learn a bit and have a bit more understanding how hard it is to grow in Malaysia without a citizenship. As such, I would like to invite the person in the video, Miss Nadila Fitrani, to share her stories and share what she's been through and what she looks forward to, what her future will be in Malaysia.
Okay, so hello
In Malaysia
and
without a citizenship.
good evening, everyone. As you might already know from the video, I'm Nadila, an impacted child of the gender discriminatory citizenship laws in Malaysia. So first of all, before I start, I would like to thank the organizers for having me today and for giving me the opportunity to share about my experience living in Malaysia as a person with no Malaysian citizenship, despite having a Malaysian mother. Also, I would like to correct our MC a little bit. Rather than Article 15A, like you mentioned just now, my mom and I actually applied for citizenship under Article 15.2 of the Federal Constitution. So just a small correction, I hope you don't mind. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So this might just be filled with like rambles. I feel like back in the day, this issue was not really well known, especially like I mean, in my experience when I was younger, although I did feel that the treatment that me and my younger sister got was unfair in school, especially, I used to think that, oh, it's just how it's meant to be. Well, I wasn't well educated then, but now that I am, it frustrates me because the mindset that women are inferior to men is still normalized up until today. And to think that Malaysia is still one of the only, I think, 25, was it, countries out of what, 195 countries out there that still practices this gender discriminatory law, it frustrates me. So now I'm just very thankful that this issue is being brought into light. More and more people, especially among the youths, are being very supportive of the campaign to amend Article 14. Article 14. Anyway, if you follow Family Frontiers or if you follow this issue in general, you might be aware of the court appeal ruling that was in August this year, if I'm not mistaken. Then you'd know that even though Family Friendships won the case back in like 2021, the Court of Appeal overturned the High Court's order, which means that the final decision was not in our favor. So this video was actually taken before the hearing, if I remember it correctly. And my mom and I really, really hoped that that the decision would be in our favor. But unfortunately, it didn't, and here we are now. So how did my mom and I feel about the hearing? Well, both of us were very exasperated, very angered, of course, especially for my mom, because it means more years of hardships for her. She went through lots of years trying to apply for me and my sister's citizenships, but all of them got rejected. So this hearing just means that she has to do more of that, probably. And it also worries the both of us because I'm 20 this year, and that means that I'm turning 21 next year and would be a legal adult in the eyes of the law. So while I'm still at this age, my mom can still help me apply for the Malaysian citizenship because she is the Malaysian parent. However, once I turn into a legal adult, I heard that it would become harder for me to apply for the Malaysian citizenship. And well, I would be all on my own, basically. That's what I heard lah. I'm not well educated about the law itself, so I'm not sure. But what I'm certain is that my adulthood is going to be tough living here. I believe it's already mentioned in the video that during my school days or even in healthcare, my mom had to spend a lot of money despite not actually having to, just because me and my sister didn't have a Malaysian IC. And now that I have grown and understand better about money, about finances, I finally understand the lengths that my mother had gone through as a single mother at that, just so that she could provide for the three of us. And I feel bad that I can't help her financially as the eldest, especially with all the extra expenses that we have to make by being foreigners in this country. And since I'm living here on a student visa, that document doesn't let me work full-time or part-time in this country at all. So I can't help my mom with, side income and so on. And aside from that, well, there are a lot of other uncertainties that lives in my head rent-free. And I have a lot of worries for my future, of course. Like in the video, if I don't get a Malaysian citizenship once I reach 21, or if I don't get it once I graduate from university, I might possibly get kicked out of Malaysia. I don't know, it's possible. Back to my home country, even though I've never set foot in that country. And then I will have to be separated from my mom, from my sisters, and from my many, many friends that I have made here. And I feel like it would take a very, very long time for me to adapt to that new life. And because I have been living here for like years already. And even if I do get to stay here, my options would be limited. I might not get the same career opportunities as my friend who are Malaysian, and I might have to make extra expenses to pay for work visas, and I might have to work twice as hard as my Malaysian friends in order to just stay and make a living here in Malaysia. So for the future, what I'm hoping for is that this campaign becomes a success, and someday the amendment is made on Article 14 of the Federal Constitution that allows mothers to also confer their citizenship to their overseas born children. And hopefully I can get my Malaysian citizenship and live peacefully here in Malaysia, where I call home. Now, I think that pretty much covered most of my story, since a big portion of it has already been shared in the video. So before I end my talk, I would like to thank the organizers once again for having me, and I would like to thank the audience here in Google Meet and in the YouTube for listening to me sharing my story or rambling here, basically in this session. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Nadila, for sharing your stories. And I also like to apologize on my behalf for not knowing. I hope that in the future that you will gain your citizenship. Hope for the best for you. Moving on, I would like to invite our organizers, family frontiers. Two of our organizers are here, Miss Elisa Dyson and Miss... Oh my God. Miss Corina, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Miss Elisa Dyson and Miss Corina to give a presentation and give a more bit of an understanding how citizenship works in Malaysia, a more detailed version than mine.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I guess we need to wait for them to share the screen. Yeah. We are from Family Frontiers, and just a summary into what we do is we basically advocate for the welfare of binational families in Malaysia. So binational families means one Malaysian spouse, one non-Malaysian spouse. And as of now, our focus is on this campaign, the campaign for equal citizenship rights of Malaysian women and their overseas born children. So next slide, please. Okay, so I'm pretty sure by now you might have a gist of what is the issue. So in Malaysia, if a Malaysian man were to marry a non-Malaysian woman and they have their child overseas, so the child is born overseas, the Malaysian father is allowed to confer citizenship to his child automatically by operation of law. So what he has to do is go to the embassy or come back to Malaysia and just submit a couple of documents and also a verification form called Borang D, and he will be able to obtain citizenship for his child automatically. But if the roles were reversed, if it were a Malaysian mother, Malaysian woman who married to a non-Malaysian man and she gives birth overseas, she is not able to confer citizenship automatically on the same basis as her father. But for her, she has to apply for citizenship under Article 15.2, the one that Nadila mentioned just now. So Article 15.2 is a very citizenship application under Article 15.2 is very complicated, and it takes a really, really long time. It's an arbitrary process. There's no guarantee whether or not the mothers are going to get citizenship for their children. So, okay, there are statistics from 2018 up to 22nd June this year that says that out of 3,407 applications under Article 15.2, only 19 of them actually have been approved. So this leaves the mothers and the children in a lot of negative situations, and the impacts are basically very large and very negative. So next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. Okay, So the first impact upon women is their vulnerability to domestic violence and their inability to leave toxic marriages and also violence. So let's just say, for example, if a Malaysian woman gets married with a non-Malaysian man and she moves overseas and then she gives birth overseas, so the child is not going to be a Malaysian because the child is born overseas. So if the husband ends up becoming abusive or the relationship itself becomes toxic and the wife wants to leave back to Malaysia, right? Um, it's going to be really, really tough for the mom to come back to Malaysia with the child because the child does not have Malaysian citizenship. So it's going to be very difficult for the child to survive in Malaysia. And also, if the child doesn't have any sort of status or sort of PR, or sort of a pass or permit, it's going to be difficult to stay in Malaysia because in Malaysia, if you're a non-citizen, things are really, really tough for you. You're sort of invisible, you can say that. So this leads to my next point, which is lack of autonomy, especially in terms of where they can live. So mothers, if so, as I said just now, if they want to bring their children back to Malaysia and as a non-citizen, they would have to apply for some sort of pass or permit. So Nadila is on student visa, and then there are other children who are on long-term social visit pass and tourist pass, etc. So if they are unable to get those visas or those passes, they cannot stay. The mothers and the child cannot stay in Malaysia. Or if they manage to get them, they would have to renew it every year. So it can be up every 6 to 12 months they have to renew. So if they cannot, if they end up while they're trying to renew it, if their renewal doesn't get approved, then also they would have to leave Malaysia and stay in another country. So this law itself does not allow the Malaysian woman to stay in her own home country. It basically banishes that. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, another impact upon women, upon the mothers, is a lifetime of bureaucratic challenges and also financial burden. So what we mean by bureaucratic challenges is that it's not an easy process to obtain visa or PR or any sort of pass to stay in Malaysia for their children. So whenever the day comes where they have to renew their visa, it's a very complicated and long process. They have to go up and down JPN, and they don't get accommodated very easily. And also, these going through this every single year is very difficult, very complicated for them. And also because these children, the non-citizen children, they do not have equal access to affordable public education, government education, and also government healthcare. So they have to pay extra when they want to access government hospitals, or when they want to, or if they can't get into government schools, they have to go to private schools or international schools, which costs more. It's much more expensive. So a lot of times the mothers, if they're not rich, they won't be able to afford it. So it's tough on them also in order to just continue staying here. And our next point is brain drain, which is the inability to contribute to the country. So brain drain means people leaving the country for better opportunities, better economic opportunities. So mothers with overseas born children tend to not be able to come back to Malaysia because their children don't have citizenship, because they know that it's very tough to live in Malaysia without any sort of citizenship. So they choose not to come back from wherever that they are staying. They just choose to stay there. And this has bad effects on the country itself, because like we are losing talent. And also this is actually backed up. So like the Malaysian diaspora overseas, 60% of them are actually Malaysian women, and one of the reasons why they don't want to come back is because of this law. So next slide, please. Okay, so now we move on to the impact on children. So like I mentioned just now, if these children, since they are non-citizens, they do not have equal access to public education, government schools, and also affordable healthcare. So in terms of affordable healthcare, these children, they don't have Malaysian citizen rates when they go to government hospitals, despite them being the child of a Malaysian. So because of that, they will have to spend extra money in terms of any treatments and all that. Also, when it comes to public education, it's very, very difficult for non-citizen children to be able to enter government schools, because first priority is given to Malaysian kids. So if there's space in the schools, then only non-citizen children can go and enter the schools. So because of that, these children, right, they have to wait about 2 to 3 weeks or longer in order to enter government school, and compared to their Malaysian peers. And this sort of, makes them stand out lah. So it doesn't look nice, right? Oh, this kid who comes in late like that. That's what they will call them. Yeah. And also, even if they get accepted, they don't have access to government subsidies. So they don't get the free textbooks, the free vaccinations, and also the free dental checkups that their Malaysian peers would get. And the next point is family separation. Family separation, especially for those who are above 21 years old. So like Nadila mentioned just now, she fears having to leave the country with all by herself once she turns 21 or when she no longer has a student visa. Yeah. Yeah, this is a reality for many people. Actually, they have to leave the country once they don't have any sort of visa or pass to stay in the country. So they have to go to a country that they don't consider home all by themselves, which is really tough. And it's also going to be tougher for them to come back to Malaysia because it's not easy to get tourist pass back. So yeah, next slide. Another impact on children is psychological distress and also social marginalization. So even though these children, like you see there, they are kids, right? You might think that, oh, they might not be aware of what's going on, but actually they are very aware that they are different from their Malaysian friends. They know that, and they also realize that their visas is not permanent. Just because they have a visa, they know that they might have to leave Malaysia one day. There is that risk. They are aware of this, and this sort of stresses them out a lot. So, and then there's also like the othering from their Malaysian friends. Some of them even do get bullied in school just because they are different, of a different ethnicity. Some of them are mixed, like non-Malaysian and Malaysian, right? So because of that, they do get bullied in school, and it's not a good thing for these children to experience ever since they are young, you know. So yeah, like what Botiza says, you know, it seems like the government doesn't want to protect their children, these kind of children, just because they are born to Malaysian women overseas. Next slide. Okay, so I guess I'll pass this to Karina.
Thanks, Alicia, and thanks for having us here today. Nadila, as always, your story will break my heart each time I see it. So yeah, as we have mentioned just now, Nadila was sharing as an impacted adult lah. So now we just want to share a few more of more similar stories of other women in similar circumstances. So as you can see in this photo, it is this is Priscilla, and Priscilla is a mother of 3 children. 2 of them are non-Malaysians because they are born overseas. The youngest, the boy here, is a Malaysian because he's born in Malaysia. That's all the difference there is, just where they're born and whether the mom or the father is the Malaysian lah in this case. So in this case, you can see Priscilla's the mom. She's the Malaysian mom. And she is a single mom as well. So she is a single mom. She's raising her 3 children. 2 of them are non-Malaysian, and this has placed a really big financial burden on her. She has to pay for not only like expensive fees because they have to go to a private school, because she can't wait for she can't get a position in the public education, so she has to go for private education. And then other than that, one of the documents that is required for them to get their visa and remain in the country is insurance. So even as young as this, they have to get like insurance, and then on top of that, they have to pay for books. You know, for just raising a child is very expensive, and you put all this other additional financial burden, she is overwhelmed lah. So she has recently been diagnosed with breast cancer because of the stress that's arising from all these bureaucratic processes that she has to go through. So what she had to do every year before she got the student pass, right, when she moved back, is she had to send her children out of the country every 90 days. So every 90 days she has to send her children to the airport, get them on the flight, and then come back after a few days. So this has to happen every 90 days before they got the student pass. Then once they got the student pass, it's an every year process, and it takes up a lot of their time lah. So all these mothers, they will tell you the same thing. This student pass, all these visa issues, it's not easy lah. So this is the kind of challenges that she has faced in terms of bureaucratic challenges lah, and now it has actually taken a toll on her health. Okay, next slide, please. So next one, this is also she is going to turn 20 as well, I think. She is now an 18-year-old. Soon she will also reach that 21 age limit where you can no longer rely on Article 15.2 to apply for citizenship. So that means, as Nadila said, it will be all that more harder lah. So her story is also very devastating, and it has actually taken a toll on her mom as well as herself. So Sarabjit is an overseas-born child of a mother, Lavinder, and she was actually torn apart from her family because she was forced to leave the country in March last year, because she had to care for her mom. Her mom was going through surgery, and then her mom had to. It was a neuron surgery, so it's a head surgery lah. And then she was taking care of her mom. She was unable to sit for her SPM because in this process, like, she just couldn't attend school anymore. And then after that, her student pass cannot be renewed anymore. So when that happened, she had to leave the country, and she stayed in a foreign country alone, being shifted from relative's house to relative's house, not having a permanent place to stay. And then in that course, she actually feel like her mom has abandoned her. She said that her mom doesn't want her anymore because, you know, like, who would let her child suffer like this? But then on her mom's end, she was trying everything that she can to bring her child back. She was going from department to department, going to ask everyone that she knows on how to bring her child back and get her on track with her education. So in 19 July 2022, she was finally reunited with her daughter, but it was only on a 30-day tourist pass. So she only got a tourist pass for 30 days after being separated for almost a year. So now it's SPM season. She is unable to sit for the exam also, because now they're also like, they have to deal with all these bureaucratic hurdles lah, and they have done all that they can in order to get any help that they can in order to have her remain in Malaysia. So this is her story. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just a few stories among so many others, you know, so many, like hundreds and thousands of others. So to address this, Family Frontiers, as you know, our organization, as well as 6 of the Malaysian mothers in this situation, we filed a case at the KL High Court in 2020. So this case is called Suryani Temple and others, and Malaysian government and others. So we are going against the government, the Home Ministry, as well as the DG lah for JPN. So what we wanted to do is to seek an interpretation, meaning have the court interpret Article 14(1)(b), which is the provision in the Constitution that discriminates based on mother or father, and then to have this article be read harmoniously with our laws on gender equality. So that's Article 8(2) of the Federal Constitution. So Article 8, Clause 2 prohibits gender-based discrimination. So you can't discriminate based on gender. And then Article 14(1)(b), we are saying that we have to read that in harmony with this provision lah. So on 9th of September 2021, that's after like a year, KL High Court finally, they granted Malaysian women equal citizenship rights. They allow them to pass on their citizenship to their overseas-born children. Next slide, please. So as Nadila mentioned, this judgment has already been overturned. But what happened during the KL High Court is that the judge, Yang Arif Akhtar bin Tahir, he ruled that the 6 plaintiff mothers and all other mothers in similar circumstances. So it does not just impact the 6 mothers, it impacts every single mother in that situation. And they said that you are all eligible to get citizenship for your children. So this would actually end the suffering of these mothers lah, and also all these children. But 72 hours later, the Malaysian government appealed against the decision. So they said like, we don't want to enforce this judgment, we want to appeal. And then on 22nd of June, the Court of Appeal heard further submissions by both parties. And then in this further submission, next slide, please. So on 22nd of June, that was supposed to be the judgment, the decision day. But the Attorney General Chambers, acting on behalf of the government, they wanted to give further submission on the point of the Article 8.2, which is about gender equality lah. So they said that in line with a recent federal court judgment, there was a judgment saying that basically like Article 8.2 it forms the basic structure of the federal constitution. So any amendment made to it is invalid. So for context, Article 8.2 initially didn't have discrimination based on gender. So initially it didn't include that. But in 2001, gender was included. So this is, so they are trying to say like this inclusion of gender equality, like, cannot discriminate based on gender, it's unconstitutional, it cannot be done, it's invalid, it's wrong. So they're basically saying that you shouldn't have done that. So can you imagine, like, they're basically trying to regress instead of progress. Next slide, please. But of course, as we said, the government would rather invalidate a judgment that actually, an amendment that actually improves our quality of life to promote gender equality, rather than actually grant these Malaysian mothers that same right to pass on their citizenship to their children. So in that meantime, all these mothers, all their overseas born children, their families all around them, they are still suffering as a result of this discriminatory laws. All of these children, all of us are aging, we are getting older and older. And as you get older and older, it's just going to be that much harder for you to get any permanent status in Malaysia. So as you can see, our topic is on gender equality, right? These women are living as second-class citizens in this country. So how many more should suffer like this? Macam tu lah. That's really like that's really what makes it so heartbreaking, Okay, next slide, please. But so despite like the Court of Appeal, okay, so for another context lah, in the process of getting this decision, right, at the Court of Appeal, the government has been trying very hard to like push against it. So they've tried from every corner. They tried to say like, oh, you don't have the right to even step into court to ask for this. And then they tried to say like, oh, even if there's a judgment, okay, right now, we don't want to enforce it. We don't want to say that they're allowed. So, okay, I see that there's a question. They tried to invalidate, but in the Court of Appeal judgment, there was nothing to affirm that. So there's no like decision that says, oh yes, they are right. So as of now, Article 8.2 still stands. It's just the fact that they tried, And then the next one, okay. So in the meantime, while all of this Court of Appeal case is going on, right? Of course, the High Court judgment is still there. It wasn't overturned at that point. So what happened is that we ran a campaign to urge the government to give these Malaysian mothers their children's citizenship certificate, because at that point the High Court ruling was still in force. So it must allow like these mothers to start the process of getting their citizenship. But of course, there was so much pushback. I don't know if you guys have seen this piece of news lah. But even with the 6 mothers, right? The 6 mothers in that case, it took them like we were invited to go to JPN at a certain time, and at a certain date. It was all stated in a letter. We were invited there. But when we actually got there, it took them about 6 hours, right? 6 hours to actually issue the citizenship certificate, because the reason is there was a printer issue. They couldn't print out the citizenship certificate. So they made the mothers wait. And then at the end, when it was, because at that time, right, it was such a momentous moment, you know, like there was so many media standing outside JPN waiting for this citizenship certificate to be given. And then when that happened, when they said, oh, we can't print out the certificate. So what happened is, you know, they had to, like, we had to tell them that lah. Like, I mean, like, we had to tell the media, oh, we couldn't get the certificate. Then last minute, JPN actually came up with a manually written one to say, like, okay, yes, you can get, your child is a citizen. So you can imagine this is just a small part of the amount of pushback lah that the government had been giving us at that time. So apart from that, those who are overseas also, they were facing trouble submitting their documents. They couldn't submit their documents because the process was different from the process that was given to men. So also a little bit of background lah. For Malaysian men who are whose children were born overseas, Malaysian men married to foreign wives who have children who are born overseas, it takes them about 1 to 3 days, like average lah, to get the documents for their children, you know. But then for here, they were told that, oh, it's different. It's a different process for you guys because you are women. So there's a lack of procedural clarity lah and consistency among even the among the JPN branches in Malaysia as well as the embassies overseas. So you can see that there's a lot of bureaucratic hurdles to go through. Okay, next. And that's why we had the Mana Document Kami campaign lah, to push for the citizenship to be given lah at that time. Then on 5th of August, as Nadila mentioned, the Court of Appeal in a 2-1 decision, 2-1 meaning two of the judges, we had 3 judges on the panel, 2 of them disagreed with Malaysian mothers. One of them disagreed with the government. So meaning we have 2 judgments in favor of the government, 1 judgment in favor of the mother. So because of 2, right, majority, right, so we had to overturn the landmark High Court judgment. So the reason that was given to overturn this High Court judgment was that the word father is clear and unambiguous. It cannot be construed to include mother. So if you want to change this, you have to go to parliament. You have to go through a constitutional amendment rather than through the courts. And then I'll answer Ifan's questions in a bit. So on the other hand, Yang Arif Datuk Nanda Balan, he was the one that was dissenting lah, meaning he didn't agree with the 2 judges. He said that there is a plain and apparent conflict between Article 8.2 on gender equality and Article 14.1b. So this means this plain and apparent conflict means that the blood, it implied that the blood of the mother is inferior to the bloodline of the father. So they're saying that because if you see there's a conflict, it implies that the mother's bloodline is less than the father's bloodline, which is, of course, shouldn't be true, right? Then he said that it's illogical, perverse, and degrading to the dignity of Malaysian mothers, Malaysian women. So right now, Family Frontiers is at the stage where we are seeking to we're seeking leave from the federal court to appeal against this this Court of Appeal decision lah, macam tu. So we are at that stage. The hearing for this leave meaning it's permission. So we're asking for permission from the federal court to appeal against this decision. So that will be done on 14th of December. So you can see the timeline of the case is not straightforward. We were going through, after filing the case, the government tried to strike out, which means says that, oh, you shouldn't have filed the case. You have no reason to file the case. Then after that, there's a lot going on now. But all this time, up until the Court of Appeal decision, the court has always been on Malaysian women's side lah. So now we have to just wait to see if we can hear we can get permission from the federal court to continue the appeal process. So that is the case. Next slide, please. Okay, before Alicia continue, I think I can just answer the question very quickly. Oh, I think Alicia has answered already. Yeah. So basically, if those who are on YouTube can't see it, the process was different because not only just about the period to get the document, to get the certificate, which was the mothers, they were told that they had to wait 6 months, whereas for fathers it was like about 1 to 3 days lah. Whereas and then on the other hand, they also asked for different documents. Some were told to submit family photos. Some were asked to, yeah, they had to ask, they had to submit a bunch of like different documents lah, like consent from the father that they're going to grant the citizenship. They're going to apply for citizenship, Malaysian citizenship for the child. You know, things that Malaysian fathers are not required to submit. They are required. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I will continue with on our recent campaign that we just finished actually during the elections. So our recent campaign was called Pindah Perkara 14. Amend, in English, it's called Amend Article 14, which is a campaign to basically urge the election candidates, the recent GE15 candidates and political parties to commit to amending Article 14(1)(b) of the Federal Constitution once they come into power. So, okay, I'll explain what Article 14(1)(b) is. So Article 14(1)(b) states that only fathers can confer citizenship to their overseas born children. So it does not include mothers, like what Corina mentioned just now. And we want an amendment in this provision, because in order for this to actually become a reality, we do need this constitutional amendment. So how we want this to be amended is the word father in Article 14(1)(b) and 1(c) has to be changed to parents one at least. So when you change this would mean that either one parent of the child will be able to confer citizenship to the overseas born child. So yes, we had a campaign in order to urge the election candidates to include this in their manifestos, so that, and also make sure that they will champion this issue once they come into power, which is right now. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the aspects of this campaign was a social media campaign. So what we did was, it was sort of like a name and shame thing. So we basically listed out in, like you see here, the card report MPs, in report cards, who are the MPs or who are the political parties, the coalitions that have stated support of us, for us, and also those who do not openly support us, or those who are pretty neutral about our issue. We have listed everyone during this social media campaign, everyone that we could get information on. So yeah, this was what we did. And we also, so the report cards, you can see them on the top 3. Those are the report cards. So the bottom 2 is basically social media shareables where people can repost. So we wanted to get people to repost these kind of things so that they will know more about our campaign and know more about our issue. And also to urge their own MPs, their own parties that they support for, to show their solidarity with us online and also in their manifestos. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this was what the mothers were doing. So all the women that you see in these photos are actually impacted mothers. So we actually tried to empower them to go out there and speak to the MPs or the election candidates and talk to them about the issue and what they are going through. So as you can see, they are holding up posters asking to Pindah Perkara 14, and and they basically spoke to them, asked what's their stance on the issue and whether or not they'll push for it once they come into power. The picture on the right, sorry. Yeah, so on the picture on the right, you see that our current Prime Minister is for this amendment. Yeah, he was very supportive during the event that we attended. So next one, please. So as a result of this campaign, 3 main political coalitions have actually included our issue, Pindah Perkara 14, in their manifestos. Barisan Nasional, Perikatan Nasional, and also Pakatan Harapan. But unfortunately, only Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan have promised to amend the provision in the Federal Constitution. Perikatan Nasional sort of promised something, but they only promised to finalize the study of the amendment. So initially, before amending the provision, the Article 14(1)(b), they said that they will conduct a study on the issue of citizenship. So this was supposed to be done last year December, and it was supposed to take 6 months. So then in July this year, they were supposed to report the findings from the study. But unfortunately, until now, they have not done anything. And so basically in the manifesto, they promised that they will finalize the study. That study that was supposed to be done in December last year, they said that they will finalize it once they come into power. But yeah, so we are pretty hopeful that Pakatan will be doing something. So since they've included it in their manifestos. Yeah, I'll pass it back to Rina.
All right. Now that you've heard our basically what we're fighting for, like the issues, the stories. So now we sort of like would like there are ways that you can contribute to the cause. One way is to contribute financially through our donation link. So you can see that it's bit.ly/donate to FF. And then you can also sign our petition, which was also shared in the comment earlier, the chat box, at bit.ly/FF petition. If you can scan the QR code, it will lead you to a page where you can actually take as many actions as you want and learn about our latest developments, all our posts, all the videos that we have produced. They should be there lah. So please feel free to take as many actions as you can. And you can also access our resource pack. So if you want to learn more about the issue, you want to contact us to ask more about it, find ways that you can help, feel free to just go on this bit.ly/FF speak up now, the QR code as displayed. So I hope that everyone here, you can at least sign the petition, because we're trying to reach 50,000 so that we can actually hand this over to the new government and say that there are this many people that are supportive of this issue. You must take this as a priority issue. So I hope that everyone here can at least sign the petition. We want to see the numbers go up. Thank you so much for this. Is there any? I guess now we are going to go through with the Q&A lah, right?
Thank you so much, Ms. Alicia and Ms. Corina, for your presentation. And lastly, we can move on for our last agenda, the Q&A session. I would like to begin with myself. I have a questions. Since Miss Fadila will be 21 next year, right? Will it be possible for her to gain citizenship through naturalization, since she has been residing in Malaysia for more than 10 years and has proficiency in Bahasa Melayu? And will this also make her court cases stronger, since before this, her appeal has been denied over and over again?
Okay. Can I take the question?
So the question is, can Miss Nadila...
Can I answer? I mean, can I answer the
question?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Feel free to add on, Alicia and Nadila, if you have any addition. But okay, for naturalization, they say 10 years, right? 10 years, 12 years, all that kind of stuff, right? It's all only if you have PR. So permanently residing, meaning you have to have a PR and remain in this country for that many years, then only you're eligible for naturalization. So Nadila does not have a PR, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not that easy. It's as hard to get PR as it is to get citizenship. We can tell you that. Yeah, so we don't know lah. It's just as hard to do that lah. And then another thing is, yeah, Nadila is definitely qualified in terms of the language. But what was the subsequent question? Oh, about the appeal, right? So the thing is, this is the court case is a public interest case, means the 6 mothers are not the 6 mothers does not include Nadila's mother. Deceased mothers are is a different case, but that case affects all Malaysian mothers. Do you understand? So Nadila does not have a court case going on. She has she has applied to the Home Ministry basically to ask them to give her the citizenship, which she has done 4 times now. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question or clarifies. Okay, feel free to add on, Alicia and Nadila.
So there's a question someone asked in YouTube for Miss Nadila. They're asking if you're unable to get a citizenship in Malaysia, what will you do, and do you have to live in Indonesia as your home country?
I probably have to do that if I don't get a Malaysian citizenship. Yeah, it's possible. If I want to stay here, then I have to get a working visa if I want to work here. Otherwise, I have to get other kinds of documents that validates my stay here. Otherwise, I would have to live in Indonesia lah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope that answers the question for the people in the YouTube. After the new election, after the general election, has there been any updates on Pinda Perkara 14 so far?
I guess I will take this. Okay, so as of now, because the government is still pretty new, right? Like literally just now only they announced the cabinet. No. So right now we are going to focus on the federal court case. So on December 14, it's going to the hearing for. So they're going to have the hearing in federal court they're going to hear the appeal for leave. The hearing for the appeal on leave will be heard in federal court on December 14. Yeah, so we're going to focus on that for now. Yeah, so Pinda Perkara 14 is sort of on at the back at this point. Yeah, but once we know who's going to come in and we know that we are pretty certain with things, then we will push for amendment again. Yeah.
Yeah, so they sort of run concurrently lah. But right now, because the appeal hearing is coming up, so we are going to focus on that at the moment. I guess there's another question by Jillian Tan. If a child is born to a Malaysian mother and a foreign father out of wedlock, and the child is being born overseas, is there a possibility of this child being stateless? Yes, there is a possibility, because if in that country they don't follow the principle of jus soli, meaning where you are born you get the citizenship, and if the mother and the father have no right, like they don't have that right to pass on citizenship to their child who is born out of wedlock, then yes, there's a possibility of the child being stateless. Even if the child is born in Malaysia, but born to a Malaysian father and a foreign mother, the child can be stateless if the mother can be traced. So it's definitely a possibility. And just now, I think like for the PR question earlier, right? There is a policy that you can't apply for PR if you have already applied for citizenship. So you can't do both at once. You can't say like, okay, I want to try PR and citizenship and see which one comes first. You can't do that. Any other questions?
I think I read one more insight. I think during one of the court cases, right, they were stalling, and so were there any difference in terms of documents, or did they just stall the whole session of the case?
Sorry, what was the question again?
They were asking, like, before this, you told that you guys waited for 6 hours, right? Yeah, so they were asking, like, in terms of procedure, was there any difference in terms of documents, or did they just stall it?
Yeah, I think we answered that just now already. Yes, there was a difference in terms of the duration that it takes for them to go through the process, as well as the documents. Yeah, there were difference as well in terms of what they need to submit. Some mothers, they were asked to provide family photos or a consent, a statement that says that the father allows or consents to the fact that they're applying for Malaysian citizenship. So all these documents are part of the discrepancies. Oh, okay. I also saw there's one question about success cases in getting citizenship this year, right? They are. For our case, 6 of the mothers in that case have already gotten their children's citizenship, but it's not. It's conditional. So it depends on what the federal court judgment will be in the end, and it depends on whether it's actually allowed in the end lah. But right now they have that Malaysian citizenship for 6 of them only. So it still did not apply to everyone. And then apart from that, out of Family Frontiers, there are other cases as well. There are people who have been born stateless. They have gotten their citizenship through court case. They have to fight all the way to the federal court because the government at that time they had a practice of appealing every time they lose, they will appeal. So have to fight long and hard. It makes you think, right? For you who have citizenship already, it makes you think about how we sort of take it for granted sometimes. Okay, anything else to add?
We have questions from Jillian Tan asking, is there a campaign to ensure that no child ends up stateless, especially those born off wedlock? They say it's really heartless to put innocent child in those positions where they are basically punished for their parents' sins.
I will take this, Kuna. Yeah, from our side, no. Right now, we are focusing on this campaign to confer for mothers to confer citizenship. But for stateless, specifically, there's other organizations that actually champion this. DRA, right, Corina? Yeah, so they are another organization that champions citizenship rights for the stateless. So you can look them up. I will put the link right now. So yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Corina. I think our next question from Ring. She's asking, will Miss Nadila consider applying for PR if she can't get citizenship?
I would actually consider applying for PR if I couldn't get the citizenship. But the thing is that, correct me if I'm wrong, tapi I think I'm not allowed to apply for PR once I turn 21, kan? Or did I remember that wrong?
I think you still can. It's just
you could.
the citizenship under 15.2 that has a qualifying.
Oh, okay. Then if I really can't, then PR it is. But it's going to be just as tough as applying for citizenship lah. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to wait for that 12 years. Is it 12 years? 10 years?
I think it's 10
years before you apply. Then only you can actually qualify for the naturalization as well.
Lama je.
Also, there's something about it's currently temporary. Why did it not apply to the other cases? because delays. That's why. Because there were delays. You're saying other cases and in other similar cases, right? Similar circumstances, I assume. So yes, the current citizenship that was granted to the overseas born children of Malaysian mothers, the six of them, it is still conditional. It's still temporary for now. But yeah, the reason it did not apply is just because tak sempat proses. I think dia orang tak sempat proses lah. Yeah.
So I think that's all the questions we have so far, and I hope our viewers have more understanding of how citizenship works in Malaysia. So I guess this is the end for us, and for me, I would like to thank you everyone that comes to our event. And I would like to also say thank you to our organizer, Family Frontiers, and Miss Corina and Miss Alicia for coming and giving a speech. And also a very kind thank you to Miss Nadila for also sharing her stories about how she's been going through. And we hope the best for her so she can get her citizenship and becomes a Malaysian. And so I think that's all from us. Do you guys have anything else to add? Okay.
Right?
Pardon?
Is there a photo session or something?
Yeah, I think, but yeah, there's a photo session. Yeah. Can we even see everyone inside? Do I need to unpin? Smile. Are you done? So also, you guys can follow Family Frontiers on their Twitter and Instagram, and also, they have I think a website called sayajugaanakmalaysia.com. Is it correct? Yeah. Yeah. So you guys can.
Dot my.
.my, sorry. .com.my. Yeah.